Welcome. I'm Dana Nichols, your host for this forum for candidates for the Mark Twain Health District Board of Directors. I'm a senior editor at the Calaveras Enterprise, and the Enterprise, as well as the Calaveras County Taxpayers Association, are sponsoring this forum. And I'm very pleased that we have here with us 4 of the 5 candidates for the Healthcare District Board of Directors. We have Lynn Reed, Dr. Peter Oliver, George Fry, and Furman Brown. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for coming. We're going to start right off with a brief introduction, so please tell us a little bit about yourselves and why you want to serve on the board. Lynn, would you please go first?
Sure. I think I'm uniquely qualified to be on the Mark Twain Healthcare District Board for several reasons, and to continue to be on the board. First, I have an education in healthcare and in business. I hold degrees in occupational therapy and a master's in business administration. I have over 35 years of work experience in healthcare management, working in a variety of healthcare settings, including acute care hospitals, outpatient clinics, home health, long-term care settings, and community-based programs. I also worked locally for 7 years for a nonprofit health and human services agency. I was the executive director of HRC, the Human Resources Council, which is now called the Resource Connection. I'm also a faculty member at Los Rios Community College District, teaching future healthcare practitioners in gerontology and occupational therapy, and hoping they'll relocate to Calaveras County. In terms of my professional and community volunteer activities, I've been on the Association of California Healthcare District Boards for 4 years, serving as treasurer and chair of the Finance Committee currently. I'm also a past president of the Occupational Therapy Association of California. I've been on the Calaveras County Mental Health Advisory Board in the past, and I'm a graduate of the Calaveras County Chamber of Commerce leadership class. But most importantly, I've served on the Healthcare District for 8 years, and during that time, I've been a catalyst for change. I recognized that we needed to increase our transparency and visibility in the community, and I worked hard to make that a reality. Under my leadership as president, and with the support of other board members such as Dr. Peter Oliver, we created a website, obtained a phone line, obtained office space, and we hired an executive director. We also increased the amount of money that we contributed to the hospital for operational support, as well as to local community agencies and nonprofits. We created the Golden Health Awards to financially award local healthcare organizations and individuals who made a positive impact to health and wellness. And toward the goal of improving and increasing access to care, we partnered with Dignity Health and Mark Twain Medical Center to expand telehealth services to outpatient pulmonary patients. And most recently, we became a financial contributor and a supporter of the County Public Health Department in their community training efforts for chronic disease management. And this past week, we signed an amendment to our lease with the Mark Twain Medical Center, which will be a catalyst for the new long-term lease that we'll bring to the voters next year. We have a lot more to accomplish, and I believe I'm uniquely qualified to lead that charge.
Thank you, Lynn. Peter, would you please introduce yourself?
Gladly. I'm Peter Oliver, Dr. Oliver. I'm a physician and surgeon at Mark Twain Medical Center, and also own and run Silver Oak Medical Office down the street here. I have been in this community since 1993, raised my daughter through Michelson, Avery, and Bret Hart, and she's now in Oakland as a school teacher. I've served on multiple boards and have had many leadership positions at the hospital. between 4 and 6 years ago, many of you remember the hospital having some issues with physicians leaving the community. It was then I decided that my vision and influence as a physician would be more important on an elected position on the board than I was able to do on the medical staff. So I ran for and was elected to the Mark Twain Healthcare District Board, and I am currently an incumbent director. I have attended all the meetings. I currently serve as a secretary to Lynn Reed, our president. As a director, I've helped assist in this collaborative and remarkable special district transformation. We are now, as Lynn had said, a transparent organization, have very efficient and effective body with public meetings. And we are stewards of the taxpayers' money as well as the property in the hospital they own. This district board and this hospital serve the community and providing access to care is our primary mission. I've served on ad hoc committees that elected our CEO, our legal counsel, and amended our hospital lease, as Lynn had stated, and is moving towards an extension of the lease with Dignity Health. I am privileged that I had the opportunity to stabilize and improve this community's access to health care and to the Mark Twain Medical Center resources. There are still undertakings which are in development, and there are others which are just beginning in their infancies. I'm hoping that you'll re-elect me to guide and complete these tasks. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. George, would you please tell us about yourself?
Sure. My name is George Fry. I've lived in this county 37 years. I've served on numerous boards and commissions. To name a few, I got elected to the Vallecito Union School District Board, as well as the Calaveras County Office of Education Board. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I am a member of the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I served on the Calaveras County Mental Health Board for 12 years. I was appointed by the California Mental Health Planning, the California Mental Health Director, and also anointed, I guess is a good word, by the then governor of the state of California, and I served there for 12 years. I'm currently involved with the Calaveras County Commission on Aging. We meet on a monthly basis, and I just came from a meeting this morning that I'm a member of the In-Home Health Services Committee. It's an advisory committee that reports to the Board of Supervisors. I have a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Science degree in sociology, and in terms of the Mark Twain Healthcare District, I can ditto that I have been at every meeting, every monthly meeting for the past 3 years, and during that time, all of the things that Lynn has mentioned, I have been there to see get accomplished, and I've seen just some really remarkable changes, and with the advent of the executive officer, who has really been a godsend to our healthcare district. I look forward to serving on this district board. It's a very good board. I believe in community service, as I've expressed to you on things that I have served on in the past. One more thing that I'm really involved in is the Economic Development Council in Calaveras County. We're working on getting broadband here so that we can attract more people that can run their businesses out of their homes and bring their families here and raise their children in our school systems here and away from the cities. I'm the only...
George, I have to stop you. Unfortunately, your time is up, but
Okay.
thank you very much.
Sure.
Furman, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Furman Brown. I'm running here for district because I've seen some nice changes taking place in the last couple of years. I'd like to continue to see these things through and help with some able qualified people, as you've already met, the president and the secretary. I'm going to bring a new approach to this. I don't have a long history on the board, but I have a long history in business. I was, I would say, a proven leader. I've been past president or present president of Friends of the Fair, and we kind of turned that place around out there. I think that I've been a good manager, owned my own distributorship for 35 years, and very successful there. We're creative. We design shopping centers and commercial properties, so I'm in the management. I'd like to look at this board. About 90% of the people don't realize that they contribute through their taxpayer dollars to the district. And as we talk to the people in the field, we find out they don't realize that. And so we as the board really are the landlords of these properties, and at which time as a landlord, take care of leases and development of new properties, which we're working with on the Dogtown Road property. I happen to be behind the scenes working on that property. Today we're at the Mark Twain Foundation, where we raise money for this project. We've raised nearly $2 million for the Dogtown Road project, so that's through the foundation. And I've been pleased to be a part of that operation. Economic development, yes, economic development is a very big thing. I was past president of the Economic Development Committee for the city of Watsonville. So I would just like to see this board moving forward, this district moving forward, improvements to the hospital, and I think that I can be a contributing factor to that.
Thank you, Furman. I do want to briefly mention that there are 5 candidates running right now for 3 open seats. Ann Radford, who is also a candidate, was invited but did not decline to participate. First question, and several of you have referred to this, I wanted to ask about 2 years ago, the grand jury came out with a report basically criticizing the district because at that time the health care district was essentially run out of the office of the executive director of the hospital. Since then, there's been a number of changes. It's much easier now to get information on the healthcare district. You have your own separate executive operation now. And I'm going to ask Furman, I'm going to ask Peter to answer first. I'm going to rotate who gets to answer first. Peter, how's it gone? Have we addressed all of the issues raised by the grand jury? Anything else left to do?
Well, Dana, to answer your question in a simple statement, we did receive a report from the grand jury that we did answer all their questions. There's no further investigation needed. So that's the short answer. And your perception and understanding of what occurred is that the district and the hospital corporate board, and again at that time St. Joseph's and Catholic Health Care West, over time did tend to lump all of their administration together. It became almost a single unit in a way of moving responsibilities and decisions forward. What the grand jury came on to was at the same time we were having trouble with physicians leaving the community. It all kind of came together with some poor management by the hospital. And through the transformation, through the leadership of Lynn and through the new members of the board and some help with Dignity Health, we were able to separate what we would call the trilogy of what runs your hospital. The district board, which is, again, we've heard this a couple times, the landlords of the land and the property. The corporate board of the hospital, called Mark Twain Corporate Board, which actually manages the hospital, which we are members of, and then Dignity Health, which is the management contract to run the hospital. So we've been able to clarify roles, and our role is clearly public. We function under Brown Act. We need to be transparent, and all of our decisions need to be communicated clearly with the public, and that's the biggest transformation we've made in these last 4 years.
Thank you. George, what's your thinking on this? Has the grand jury's issues been addressed?
I believe they've been addressed. I also believe that members of the grand jury, because this is a public agency, they came at the district, the Mark Twain Healthcare District, and they had lots of items that they wanted to address, and the majority of them were not items that needed to be addressed. There were some, but minimally. I believe that whoever wrote the letter to the grand jury was of the opinion that the Mark Twain Healthcare District was running the hospital. And with the flight of all the doctors and whoever wrote that letter, they thought that the Mark Twain Healthcare District was responsible for what was going on in the hospital setting.
Very good, thank you. Furman, what are your thoughts on the grand jury and where things stand now?
Well, the grand jury is really an interesting body. I served in the grand jury in Monterey County, and it really has no power other than investigation. It does a lot of work. I think it answers to the people. I think that questions were brought up that I think that Peter's answered very well tonight, that things are progressing nicely. I think that the answers to the grand jury questions have been solved.
Thank you, Furman. Lynn, any thoughts on the grand jury and the responses that you've been part of there?
No, I would just add that while initially a grand jury investigation has a very negative connotation, it's a little scary, it can be nerve-wracking, all of those things. I think the end result was we were already headed in the direction of making several changes that were recommended, and so it just validated that we were doing the right thing. And in addition to that, I know I met with the grand jury during a final educational piece that was presented with our then new executive director. And we were really able to educate each one of them about the distinct differences between the healthcare district, the hospital corporation, and they were very appreciative of that. So I felt that it ended on a very positive note, and I think we gained some visibility and, quite frankly, some credibility of how we handled it.
Thank you, Lynn. So next question, I'm going to ask George for you to go first. Calaveras County taxpayers, right now it's between $800,000 and $900,000 a year that Calaveras County taxpayers are contributing to the hospital. What are they getting for that? Is it a good deal, and why or why not?
You're right, it's about $847,000 this year for the 2014-2015 budget. And the majority of that has to do with things that have to be paid for in terms of utilities and things like that. But there is $195,000 that's budgeted that is for things that the healthcare district does in terms of providing programs. And there's a list of them. It's lengthy, so I think I would like to share them so that I don't miss out on any of them. And that's the Pink in the Night, which is day after tomorrow in Valley Springs at the Terrace. The health fairs, the district supports the health fairs. You'll see the last one that was on Saturday, that the advertising lists both Dignity Health and the district. Also, health education forums. The district's involved in the chronic disease program with public health. The respite care program, $20,000 is given every year to the folks in Amador County to provide respite care. It's a hospice to provide respite care for folks that need a break from their family members who are their lives are terminating. The technology for students, well, I don't have time to get through the rest of them.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Furman, are the taxpayers getting a good deal? Why or why not? What's your thinking on this?
I think they're getting a very good deal. And like I said, I don't think most of the people realize that they're contributing to this hospital and the operation. George covered really all the programs that the people of the county are benefiting from. And that's what we have to look at. And that's what the taxpayers want to see, some benefit from their dollars that they don't even know they're putting into it. So I think that the district is working hard to develop new programs all the time. Maybe Peter will talk about the robots. He's more connected with that than I am. But there's all different kinds of programs being initiated today and being proven that you'll see a lot about in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Furman. And Lynn, you're quite familiar with all this, of course, and I think George mentioned a lot of it goes to things like utility bills. Well, how is paying the utility bills a good deal for the taxpayers? I just figured you would know, why are we doing that?
Because it keeps our hospital and all of our clinics open and running. We spent $626,000 last year towards utilities for the hospital and the clinics, and it, quite frankly, enables them to keep the doors open and provide services. So that's direct community benefit. If they couldn't have the lights on and run water and everything else in terms of utilities, phones, you name it, it definitely helps the community. In addition to that, the other community programs that we also financially support that George mentioned, if you add all of that together, that's close to 75% of the dollars that we take in. And we take in more than just tax dollars. We have rental and land lease revenue as well, but the majority of the dollars are from tax base. But close to 75% is where we're at. Each year, it's been inching up higher and higher, the percentage of dollars that are spent on community benefit. And that's huge.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. Peter.
Well, Lynn and I sat on the ad hoc committee that worked on the revision of our lease, which is maybe why you asked the question, is that, you know, the community taxpayer may say, why are we paying utilities at a hospital? Well, one reason is because if we're going to support the hospital, we can't gift public funds. They have to be spent for a specific purpose. That's one of the reasons why we call it utilities. We did go through an amendment to the lease, so we're very specific about the utilities that we pay, and that we have a way out if we choose to move our money to another project in the community besides the hospital. It becomes a secondary, we have a primary gain somewhere else. But we do spend just about all of the money we collect on an annual basis goes back to the hospital, which we consider our primary goal, is to keep the hospital open, running, and access the patients. The remainder goes to the support in the community, which is, I think, both are great deals. And we have telemedicine. We're like the second most advanced telemedicine program almost in the country now, as far as having robotic interactions with other Dignity Hospital medical staff. And we hope to expand that access for the community residents. We have a very specific, when we meet, we have a strategic plan, and we come up with goals and missions, and everything that we spend it on has to meet those goals. And it has to be to support the hospital, to support the relationship and the access to Dignity Health, has to provide access to the community for health care. And so we have we have to meet our criteria to move forward. So to answer your question, Dana, I think that The residents have very good stewards for their money. We're very prudent in how we spend it. We watch it very carefully. We've never had a problem with any of our financial analysts who have come in and done our audits. So I would, as a citizen, I would say your money is well spent.
Thank you, Peter. Furman, you get to go first this time. So unless a person who is giving birth just shows up at the emergency room, it's not currently possible to do a scheduled normal birth here at this hospital. And I realize that the district doesn't directly manage the hospital, but the district certainly could express its displeasure or pleasure with the level of service that's available to county residents. What about this not being able to have a baby here? What do you think about that, and is there anything the district should or could do about that?
Very interesting, Dana. That's why the population growth in Calaveras isn't recording very high, because we're not having births here. They're going to neighboring hospitals. It's a dollars and cents thing. It just is not affordable to have a maternity ward, pediatric operations here. It requires a minimum of 3 doctors on duty all the time to maintain that level of delivery. It would be nice to have it. We just don't. It's a numbers game, and the births aren't here to justify it. It would be nice if it was, but it isn't. So I think that's the reason that the hospital chose to send these to other neighboring hospitals. But in case of emergencies, of course, they're taken care of in the emergency ward. Yes, we never turn someone away. That's for sure. Whether we can handle them or can't handle them, we always start the process of handling it.
Thank you, Furman.
Okay.
Lynn, what are your thoughts on not being able to have a scheduled birth here at the hospital?
Well, as a mom, and when I first was on the board, when this decision had been made just prior to that, I believe, my initial reaction was, oh my gosh, we can't allow this to happen. However, when you get the full story about the why, it really it wasn't feasible to keep it open. In terms of resource allocation, any rural hospital has to make really tough choices about what services do they provide and what can't they provide, and do they need to look to their partners in neighboring communities or counties to provide those services. So it was definitely, it sounds trite, but it was a numbers, the number of babies being born in the county was decreasing significantly year after year. So my hope is that one day that can be readdressed if the population goes up, there's more babies, and that we're able to staff that, because staffing was trained staff, certified staff to provide those services 24/7 is critical. It's necessary. It's part of licensing for the hospital. So I would think that down the road at some point that might be able to be readdressed. That's my hope as a resident of the county.
Thank you, Lynn. Peter.
Complicated question.
Yeah.
I mean, to people on the street, your average kindergartner, you would say births are simple. They happen all the time. Why can't we provide that service? I was in medical staff leadership, not district board leadership, when we had to close OB. And it really came down to patient safety. We can't do something that's not safe for our community. And there are financial issues, but at this point, it came down to pure patient safety. The number of medical staff that have to be present, their proximity to the hospital, the proximity that you have to have anesthesia and nursing staff to take care of emergencies was not doable by our hospital safely at that time. And we've had issues since that time recruiting pediatrics and gynecology and the other supports for that service. So I would say, it's there in our recruitment package. If you look at not the district board, but the Mark Twain Medical Center's long-term plan, OB is in it. But right now we're trying to establish access for the services that we can provide safely, and then we can add on the service that will be more complicated in the future. But we have OB programs on both counties. that are perfectly able to manage our citizens. That's the safest way to take care of them.
Thank you, Peter. George, any thoughts on the current policy on births at the hospital?
Well, at first I was a little surprised that was going to happen, and they were going to close the birthing center and all of that. But as I dug into it more and realized that it was just really too expensive for the number of births that were being handled yearly in this county, that it didn't make sense to continue to have it in place. And I had heard about the concern about safety issues too, and not having enough personnel to make sure that when people give birth, that they have the right amount of doctors and nurses and what have you. I'm hopeful, as I have been told, that it is in the long range for Dignity Health to, at some point when the numbers come back up, that they will find, they will continue to, they'll start doing birthing again at the hospital.
Thank you, George. Lynn, you get to go first this time. So it's actually possible under California law to dissolve a special district. And then the revenue might just go back to the county government. And in fact, we also have a county government that has a health department that provides services, and you're in the business providing services. Why not just dissolve the Mark Twain Healthcare District, give the revenue back, sell off the assets, and have a more efficient one agency providing the services rather than two?
Well, at first blush, that would, and a simple answer, that would seem to make sense. But in reality, the healthcare district, through the law in California, has a lot of advantages that it can provide. For example, with our status as a special district public agency, we are able to offer, or I should say provide a discount, if you will, for some of the utilities for the hospital because of the special district. So that's one advantage. Additionally, we serve the entire county. The public health department, while they serve the entire county, their focus is a little different on the people that actually use their services. And they also don't have an affiliation directly with an acute care hospital. So their services are very needed. The services of the hospital are needed. The healthcare district, and what we add to that, I see, is we're a collaborator. We bring everybody together. For example, recently supporting the work of the public health department with their community training for chronic disease management. One of our efforts is really to raise awareness of chronic disease management and self-management in that of individuals in the community. So we support that effort. We are not, as a health district, going to directly provide those services, but the public health department is going to do the training. So I think it's more about leveraging funds and working together, because then it's a bigger pot. The public health department can go after funds to expand what they do through grant funds, federal and state, that the hospital can't and that the health district can't. But the hospital has other advantages, and so does the health district. So I think it's about everybody working together, especially in a rural county. If you eliminate one, it's just putting the money into another resource is not going to be the answer. I think it would hugely diminish access to care in our community, and we're about expanding it.
Thank you, Lynn. Peter, any thoughts? Why not dissolve the district and have one healthcare agency providing all the services?
Well, I would be interested in hearing where that question has its roots, but it would be a very complicated process. We are one of a few district hospitals that has fiduciary responsibilities, that actually serve on the board of the corporations that run the hospitals. We have a very unique and very special relationship that we're providing this service to the hospitals. Most district boards are either close to closing or have been bought out completely. There are very few self-standing district hospitals anymore. So I think, you know, to toy with or to think about dissolving something that is uniquely beneficial to this community would be troubling. The Public Health Agency doesn't have any experience with acute care hospitals, and county hospitals have not been doing that well around the country financially. And then I think the other things that we have that Lynn had come across, had spoken about, is that special districts have special rates for utilities and a few of the services that we provide. We do outrightly own the land, so that would be complicated. And we are acquiring other lands to provide clinics, so that's the health department probably wouldn't do that. And we have a very complicated lease agreement with Dignity Health, which, although dissolving and selling our assets may sound easy, it would be very complicated as to what would happen in a complete dissolution if we did that. So I would say it would not be a good idea, and you have a great service and a great relationship that came across, you know, 30 years ago. So,
Thank you, Peter. George, what are your thoughts? Should we really have a separate district and a separate county health department?
Yes, I would not support dissolving the healthcare district. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier had to do with the chronic disease program. The health department came to the healthcare district board, Dr. Kaleda, who's the health officer. He came to the Mark Twain Healthcare District Board and requested funding because the funding that the feds were going to give, they cut back on, and so that program was going to basically go away. And so the board, the Mark Twain Healthcare District Board, stepped up and gave them the funding they needed in order to run this program. So I just think it would be a nightmare to try and even consider resolving the healthcare district board. I think that they have two distinctive purposes. Each one of those, the health department, the health, public health, and the healthcare district.
Thank you, George. Furman, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this one. You know, the healthcare district is really a very broad, experienced body. Right now, there's presently 2 doctors on that board, a banker's on that board, businessman, and a community leader with Lynn. I think that's a very broad bunch of talent that comes together to help manage this district. We also have 2 members of the healthcare district on the corporate board. So we do have some say of how the hospital manages it. Remember, we want the hospital Dignity Health to be successful, and because of the monies that are in turn returned to the district. So I really feel that that they're 2 different entities, the county health department and the hospital district. And I think we can do a lot more for the people here in the county by keeping this district going as it is.
Thank you, Furman. Peter, you get to go next. And obviously there's this process ahead of you, the 30-year lease with Dignity, formerly Catholic Healthcare West, also known as St. Joseph's, is going to expire in 2019. Something has to happen. I'm interested in your take on it, including, do we really have any choice? Is it almost inevitable that it has to be Dignity again, or is there some sort of competitive process where we can figure out what's the best deal for Calaveras County here?
well, thank you, Dana. The quick answer to your question is that in order to extend this contract or to renew it requires public vote. So yes, everyone has a choice on what they choose to do. If you look at, in sitting on the ad hoc committee for the amended lease and for the extended lease, there is a lot of huge benefit for the public in the way this is written. And to undo this would be, could lead to some financial issues with the hospital, and the fact would the hospitals keep going, stay with other partners. I mean, what would be the financial viability, and would they support all the services we provide, if you chose to change. What we did in the amended lease is we corrected things that had been sat for a while, that had been in initial leases and to be updated. We closed up the financial loopholes. We cleaned up the utilities, or the payments we made, and made language that we could all understand. And hopefully this document that we currently have, which was not up to a vote because it was simply just an amended lease, will be the clean skeleton for the public to view when they look at what Dignity and Mark Twain Corporate Board and what the Mark Twain Healthcare Board have to offer them for a hospital.
Thank you, Peter. George, what choices are we going to have to make here as we look at this lease that's expiring?
Well, the lease was signed by the president of the board, Lynn Reed, at the last Healthcare District Board meeting, and none of us are privy. I don't know. I think only Lynn and Peter are privy because they're on the ad hoc committee, and until that lease is signed by Dignity, I have no idea whether what's in that lease. And I think if you wanted to change hospitals, healthcare providers, I don't think that's really a good idea. We're off and running, and the healthcare district has developed a really good rapport with Dignity Health, and the district does a lot of things parallel with Dignity and in terms of supporting the hospital. And I just would like to see it just the way it is, but I would like to, obviously, the contract has to go out to the public, and I'm sure they're going to be having public meetings all over the county so that people will have the opportunity to see the contract and voice their opinion about the contract before it goes on the ballot.
Thank you, George. Furman, what are your thoughts on this process of having to have a new lease and one public voter approval for it?
Well, new leases are always good because we can interject something that wasn't there previously to make it a better lease. I too was not privileged to be a part of the writing of this lease, but I'm sure it's in capable hands. There's three choices for healthcare providers out there: Dignity Health, which is the largest, which is the one we're associated with. There's Sutter Health, and there's Adventist Health, which are the three basic operation bodies that come in and run things. This particular hospital is not owned by Dignity, as though they do own some of their own hospitals. So we're kind of unique in that they actually lease from the district the operations of this hospital. But I'm sure that the lease is written correctly. Like I said, I was not a party to it. I hope to be in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Furman. Lynn, the lease renewal, what should we know about this?
Okay, I've just a couple of clarifications. Terminology means words mean a lot. Amended lease is what I signed last week. The amended lease went to the board at an open public meeting, so the community was able to be part of that if they attended that meeting, or if they want to see that will end up being on our website once it's fully executed by the Mark Twain Medical Center Corporate Board and our board and Dignity. The lease renewal is what we will be moving forward to doing next, hopefully bringing to the voters in 2015. And as a voter as well as a board member, if that lease renewal reflects the language from the amended lease, which we hope that it will, then it's a very, very good deal for the health district and for Calaveras County. We are the only healthcare district, Peter alluded to this, we're the only healthcare district in the entire state of California that has the structure of the lease that we do, in that we receive a financial gain. So we were 50-50 partners with the Mark Twain Medical Center Corporation in the future of the hospital. So all other healthcare districts that either that lease out operations of a hospital, they don't have that financial ability to do that. They just lease it out and they receive something for the lease, but they don't have a 50-50 partnership in the success of that combined operation. So we're unique in that, and it's enabled us over the years to financially have a much stronger balance sheet, and this is what's going to help us in the future build more clinics.
Thank you, Lynn. I think, George, you're going to get to go first this time.
Okay.
So the healthcare district obviously owns significant real estate, and I'd like you to talk a little about that real estate, and is there anything that you would want to change about how it's being managed?
Yes, as has been said earlier, the healthcare district owns the hospital and the grounds, and owns other office buildings nearby, and I think it's proceeding very well. I look forward to the amended lease being signed, and I especially look forward to a new lease. I'm not so sure 30 years is the right number of years. The lease that's going on right now is up in 3 years, and that was a 20-year lease. And there was a lot of things in there that time has changed, and better amendments to the lease are being put in place. And so I'm very pleased with the district and how the district manages the properties that we own, and I see that as a real plus.
Thank you, George. Furman, talk a little about the real estate that the district owns and manages, and whether you would want to make any changes in how that's being managed.
Yes, the properties, I think if anyone in the public takes a look at these facilities, they're beautiful. They're well kept. They are continually being modernized with new air conditioning, and the upkeep of these facilities is really very well done. I was sort of involved and still involved in the acquisition of the Dogtown Road properties, and the district and working with acquisitions of properties is a good operation. They're fun to deal with. They're capable to deal with, and I think that the operation of the properties through the district is being done quite well at the present time.
Thank you, Furman. Lynn, is there anything, obviously you're serving on the board, you're the president, anything you'd like to change about how the real estate is being managed?
Now, I think in the past, as far as the board being fiscally responsible by, on a monthly basis, really looking at the properties, what's leased, what's owned, rents, we were doing that maybe quarterly. And through Dr. Oliver's suggestion that, we really needed to have it very specifically laid out, each property, site, location, address, dollars per month. So not only we could look at it every month, but if anybody from the public is going to show up at a meeting, maybe just once a year, they could see exactly what the health district owns and where we're receiving rents, and because that's a very large portion of what we do. So I think it's being managed just fine currently, and I think it's being reported to a very simplistic approach that anybody at a meeting can just pick up a report and look at it and fully understand it, or on our website.
Very good. Thank you, Lynn. Peter, anything you would want to change about how the real estate's being managed? Obviously, you're intimately familiar with this because you're helping to run a practice in one of the buildings.
No, I don't. I own that, excuse me, we'll go, I think some definitions need to be made. So to answer your question specifically, the property that I run Silver Oak Medical Office on, I bought and own. So it is not a district property. I purchased that in 1987 from the district, and it has nothing to do with the hospital. So back to definitions. For some people, they wonder, what do we own? So let's be specific. We own the grounds that surround the hospital. So we own what would be that whole corner, which includes the J. Copeland buildings, which are on the lower part of that, I think it's 700. They own the 704 building of 2 stories. They did own the Beverly, the nursing home, but that's been bought and sold. They own a blank lot next to it. We own a property in Stanislaus, and that is our property ownership.
In Angels Camp.
In Angels Camp. We're looking at a property on Dogtown, and of course we have a goal to look at a property in Valley Springs. So what they've done over time, which has been very kind of collaborative, is that money doesn't, I mean, in case you didn't know, money doesn't grow on trees. So they have collaborated with some developers and to provide access, and the developers such as J. Copeland and DD Construction have built buildings that we have gone to long-term leases where they took the financial responsibilities, we lease it back, and then we sublease it out for medical care. So that's one of the models that we work under. Right now, with the lease, the changes that have been made is more accountability. We want to know where everything's going, when the contracts are coming up, when they're due, and that we are offering them. It has to be a fair market value because we're a public entity, so we have to lease at fair market value. And the purpose of them, all the leases are for medical use. Don't get confused. We don't own the Arnold, the Angels Camp, or the La Contento. Those have nothing to do with the board, other than we support that access through some reimbursement for utilities. Because of our discounted utilities, we support those, but we don't own them, we don't run them. We only help the hospital or the Mark Twain Medical Center have those outreaches. And the relationships that we're trying to form now in the district board buying property and then leasing it and then building on it through creative funding, so either Mark Twain Corporation or Dignity Health or developers, allows us to form partnerships that are long lasting. We think that's valuable. And so that at some time in the future, we will actually own and run all of these as a satellite to our hospital. So that's where we are now.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. So Furman, you get to go first, and we're getting down to our final minutes here. This is sort of just an open-ended question. What initiatives, if you become a member, you're elected to the board, what initiatives would you like to take? Are there things that you would like to change or new efforts that you would like to explore? Tell us what you'd like to do.
Yes, thank you. I think I'm going to come in with some no preconceived ideas because I haven't served on this board before. I'm a businessman. I think that we should approach it strictly as a business and a service. I'd like to see a better relationship between the public and the hospital in general. And hopefully through the district and our support, because we do have 2 members on the corporate board, that that we'll see a better relationship between the public and this board. I see a lot of good things that have happened, and I see things are on the way to even be better. And I'd like to just continue this growth pattern of being a better district.
Thank you, Furman. Lynn, any new initiatives, things you'd like to do?
Yes. One is our healthcare district certification. The Association of California Healthcare Districts now offers a certification, which there are several steps, things that you have to prove in terms of policies and procedures and systems in place, that you're transparent to a very high degree and accountable. And so we're in the process of obtaining that certification. So that's a goal I'm hoping early next year that we will have achieved. The New Angels Camp Clinic, of course, and voter approval of a new long-term lease with the Mark Twain Medical Center Corporation. We've talked about it already, but those are my 3 top hit list items.
Thank you, Lynn. Peter, new initiatives, things you'd like to do?
I mean, new, if that means not discussed currently. I mean, I believe that we have the possibility of being one of the most organized and one of the most modeled districts in the state of California, should we be able to complete the certifications and the transparency that Lynn has worked on. She actually serves with the ACHD, and we're hoping that that brings our community credibility as one of the finest districts in the state of California, and we are really close to being that good. I would like to see an initiative that I've been pushing in the recent financial budget was I like to see the grounds improved. I would like to see access around, maybe unifying it with the San Andreas Walking Project, but modify our grounds so they're user-friendly, so you can exercise, walk around, travel back and forth, but improve our grounds would be an initiative we haven't talked about that's here. But what's really important is that we keep our hospital open. I mean, hospitals are closing. Our CEO, our president, Damon Doss, who does other jobs, is working on some closures of hospitals, and how do you do that? He's one of his consultants. We don't want to be one of those closure of hospitals. So that's my big initiative, is to keep us open, to get our extended contract with Dignity so we have a solid, lucrative relationship for the next 30 years, and to retain the doctors that we bring in. And that's part of this. I mean, access to health, we look at it as, are we providing places for the community to come and see doctors? But access to health means, do we have the locations and do we have the support to keep doctors in the community? And that's one of my initiatives as a physician on the board this next year will be, we need to put some real energy from our aspect as a district to retaining physicians in the community.
Very good. George, what would you like to do?
Well, I agree with Lynn that we need to get the certification done, and because that really puts us on the map in California. I spent over a year attending Parks and Recreation meetings, the San Andreas Parks and Recreation meetings, and I'm very supportive of having a walk around the hospital so that patients can get out and walk, or employees can do that on their lunch hour, and it be connected to what Parks and Recreation wants to do in terms of a walkway. The other thing is I'd like to. There's been a lot of press and outreach to the citizens of this county to get them the knowledge to know what the healthcare district is, what Dignity Health is, and what the Mark Twain Foundation is in terms of 3 different entities. And I think we need to just continue to do that. I've talked to at least a couple thousand people in the last 6-7 weeks. And most of the time, they say, well, if you get elected to the board, can you change what's going on in the hospital, in the emergency room, or can you change what's going on with the billing? And I explained to them that the hospital runs all of that, and that we have a new president, and he's been here about 2.5 years, and he's really done an outstanding job in terms of changing things. to the better, and he has an open door policy to come and for people to come and talk to him. So
Thank you, George. Thank all of you for coming and participating in this forum. We really appreciate it. And that concludes today's forum with candidates for the Mark Twain Healthcare District Board of Directors. Good job, guys.